Good evening, everybody. Meteorologist Nicholas Snider here. It is Tuesday, February 25th, 2025. This is First Alert Plus. Lots to talk about tonight, and for the first time in a while, we're really not talking about winter weather. In fact, we're talking more of a springy feel all around the region, and we're certainly going to take it after really a last couple of weeks of just downright bitterly cold conditions all around the area. Let's talk everything that is coming up here on First Alert Plus. Beautiful temperatures as we head into tomorrow. If you thought today was warm, just get ready for how warm it's going to be tomorrow. We're going to reach 70 degrees for the first time officially in the year 2025. That's going to be nice. We're watching a few storms, and we're going to track when they come as well. Some stronger storms could be possible in parts of the United States. Not necessarily over our region, but over parts of the United States, certainly a possibility. And then going into March, we're going to talk about what we could be seeing as we enter into the first full month of meteorological spring. And I know a lot of us are looking forward to that start of meteorological spring. Let's get right into it here on First Alert Plus. Of course, we are talking about a much warmer pattern that is set to move into the WSAZ viewing area here. We saw a little bit of light rain this morning thanks to a very, very light disturbance that came through, and I'll kind of show you where that disturbance was. You notice a little bit of a swirl showing up here on the water vapor satellite, traversed a little bit further to the east, pushed in a little bit of that rain. That disturbance now well up to our north and east with this area of low pressure, and the cold front associated with it still also well off to the east. So we're going to be influencing a very dry pattern as we head into the day tomorrow with much better conditions and drier air. Even this afternoon we saw that nicer weather develop into much of the area. So we will definitely take that over the region after just, again, a much cooler start to winter in comparison to the last few years. The drier weather, again, coming in from the west, and that's going to make things feel very, very lovely over the area. Meanwhile, our next system coming off the Rockies into the high plains right now, it's this area of low pressure, this swirl that you're seeing up here in the Pacific Northwest. It's moving rather quickly, has a low amplitude. When systems have that low amplitude, they move fast, and that's certainly what is going to be the case for much of the region. Heading into the day tomorrow, this system is already going to be impacting much of us with this area of low pressure now entering again into the high plains of the western United States, traversing a little bit further to the east here, and that's the next system we are watching as we move forward here. Let's talk about, of course, the temperatures. We're in the warm side of things right now. Even after a cold front did come through, all the cold air is bottled up well to the north in Canada. Those purples and blues you're seeing right here is that colder air. Meanwhile, further to the south and over our region for that matter, warm conditions continue to be the primary, really, temperature that we're seeing over much of the region. And that continues the nice weather that we saw. Today we reached almost 70 degrees officially at Huntington Tri-State Airport and Charleston Yeager Airport. I think we are able to reach that feat tomorrow, and it will feel very, very lovely. So get out and enjoy it because it's not lasting for too much longer. Notice again that next weather maker coming in from the Pacific Northwest, and that's certainly something we're going to have to watch for sure over much of the area. There's that influx of warmer air, though. It's part of that system coming in from the Pacific Northwest. That's going to surge southerly winds into the area. So, in fact, with this low pressure kind of nearby tomorrow, it's going to be a breezier day. We could see wind gusts up to 20 miles an hour in some spots, which we will talk about. But, of course, the big thing you're going to notice is the sunshine we're seeing and the influx of those warmer temperatures over much of the area, which certainly we will take over our region, again, after just a very harsh winter that we have seen here. There is that low pressure system. Again, that low pressure fairly near the area, and with that tighter pressure gradient, you see those white lines fairly close together right in here. That indicates the breezier conditions that could be developing into the region, and that's something we are going to have to watch tomorrow. It's not going to do any damage. We're not seeing any trash cans tipped over. We're not seeing any trees down or power hits, but what we will see is some noticeable gusty winds by tomorrow afternoon. Certainly something you're going to have to keep an eye on over much of the region. So let's talk about those gusts. Again, with that pressure gradient so tight, overnight tonight we're calm, but look at tomorrow afternoon, especially over the flatter terrain of southwest Ohio, north central Kentucky. You could see gusts up to 25 miles an hour. Now, over our region where the hills are a bit more prevalent, you're seeing sustained winds of 5 to 10 miles an hour with those gusts of 15 to 20 miles an hour. Nothing that's going to impact you, but it's something you're going to notice, and probably a good hairspray day tomorrow for anyone who wants to keep their hair looking nice. Yeah, it's going to be a gusty day for sure. Nothing too bad, though. Again, the big thing you are going to notice is how nice the temperatures are going to feel, with widespread 70s that are going to be likely over the entire area. We're not reaching a record high, by the way. If you're wondering what that record high is, that is 80 degrees set back in 1930. So we've got quite a bit of more time to go before we do hit a record high. I don't think we're going to see that new record tomorrow, but very warm for sure. Good, almost 20 degrees above average tomorrow for a lot of us. So shorts weather going to be the thing. If you're lucky enough to have tomorrow off, I recommend getting out and enjoy it. Just watch for some muddy conditions because, as we know, the snow melts with a little bit of the rain that we saw this morning could cause a little bit of muddy conditions out there in some of those locations. Keep that in mind for your day tomorrow. Let's go into our next big topic. Of course, next week is the start of spring. And we will be talking about the development of some springier conditions. Not the official start of spring, it's the start of meteorological spring. And that's going to be ushering in a springy pattern as well. This is our upper level wind. I've shown you this a little bit of times before here on First Alert Plus. Of course, this is the American model. We have to watch these areas of stronger winds aloft come springtime, because what this will mean is very potent energy, if you will, available to storms to develop severe characteristics. Now, luckily, on the American model, a lot of this activity looks to be well to our south, but on the European model, you'll see a different story here as we move it forward here. Again, first start to meteorological spring, not the official start to astrological spring or actual spring, but meteorological speaking starts on March 1st. So we're thinking more springy thoughts next week. The European model has this energy coming right over top of our region. Again, this is something we'll have to watch. Stronger storms could be developed out of this if the energy is available. And that's a big if. The energy has to be available for these storms to develop. It's called convective available potential energy, or CAPE, is what we call it in weather here. Without that energy, we will not have the storms really develop any severe characteristics. I'll show you what I mean here. We're going to look at some of our computer models. Unfortunately, our weather graphics are not going to show this parameter, but our model computers can definitely show this parameter. This is, again, that convective available potential energy that we are watching for. Thunderstorm energy is what I call it. And anything that's in this blue is what we have to watch. Let's rock this back here to about Tuesday evening. I want you to notice over much of the southern United States and into the Great Plains, we see a good amount of this energy available, kind of overlapping where those stronger winds are going to be. This is the European model here. Let's move it forward. Now, the good news is we're not seeing a whole lot of that energy available to us, but we could see some lightning and thunder and some rainier conditions. Something we're watching Tuesday into Wednesday. The big severe threat is not really going to be over our area, though. It's going to be mainly down here in the southern part of the country, eastern Oklahoma into Arkansas, East Texas, Louisiana, down into the Alabama area. That's where they're going to have enough of that energy to produce some really active thunderstorm potential over in that general area. This is the American model. Again, we're showing pretty much similar situations here with this blue axis coming into areas of Arkansas, into areas of Louisiana as we move this forward, Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia. And some of that energy tries to make it into our area, but it really just fails to do so under the guise of just a lot of moisture, number one, and a lot of cold air, number two. You need dry air aloft, a lot of moisture in the low levels to get that energy. You also need cold air aloft and warm air at the surface to get a lot of that energy. We're going to have more of the opposite, more moisture aloft and more of that colder air near the surface, which will really prevent that energy from getting in here. But again, areas within the southern United States going to have to watch a little bit closely for the potential of some stronger storms. And that certainly could be a case as we head into Tuesday and Wednesday of next week. It's something we're watching and something you're probably going to hear a lot about on the headlines in some of the, of course, areas of social media, a lot of YouTube places, things like that. It's not a slam dunk just yet, but if you're traveling down there, if you know someone down in the south, just keep an eye on that weather over the next couple of days here, because Tuesday and Wednesday next week could be something to watch for sure. Good news is over our region, the most active weather we're going to see is likely what's coming from a weak system as we head into the day tomorrow, in which case we're going to be seeing some just a little rain tomorrow night into Wednesday. Or rather, tomorrow night into Thursday here. Let's go back to our weather graphics. I want to show you our precipitation cast right here. We're showing you again just the very little active weather we're going to be seeing. And for most of the day tomorrow, we're dry. Notice just a little bit of light rain here or there. Most of that activity would be confined to areas up toward MacArthur, up toward Athens, Jackson, Ohio, Waverly, Piketon. But as we move forward here, you'll notice a few showers coming in tomorrow night along that cold front. That should continue as we head into Thursday. Again, just a little bit. It's not going to be a huge issue. And then we clear you out. Little bit of some light mixed precipitation, though, likely in the afternoon as kind of a second impulse of energy begins to develop on in. You'll see that right there. And a little bit of snow can mix into the higher terrain there with that next system. We're going to talk now about the pattern. Of course, every time on First Alert Plus, we give you that good pattern detail. I first want to touch on what we could be seeing precipitation-wise, though, with next week's storms. Again, we're watching the potential of storms. Not a huge deal, and there's your good news right there. But as we head into next week again, something to watch for sure is chances of some lighter shower and thunderstorm activity over the region. The American model is having trouble loading, so we'll go right here to the European model to give you a better idea. There we go. That's what we could be seeing. And again, down here in the southern United States is the area we have to watch for some of those stronger storms down into Mississippi, Alabama, Louisiana, Arkansas, where you saw that thunderstorm energy kind of lining up with the stronger winds. The basic rule of thumb here is thunderstorm energy lines up with stronger winds. That's how you get stronger storms, and that's where you get that severe weather threat. We'll have much more to talk about. It's going to be an active season with La Nina pattern. La Nina patterns typically mean stronger storms for much of the continental United States. Here, it's tough to say for really any one spot, but we do know for La Nina years that it's likely that stronger storms are going to be a possibility for much of the continental United States, and we'll have to continue to keep an eye on it. Not to scare you or anything, no severe storms in the forecast right now for our region, and that's some good news for you. Meanwhile, again, let's talk about this pattern. We remain fairly neutral, and I want to point out a few things going on here as to why this is. All the cold air is bottled up here toward Greenland, toward the poles, and Alaska is starting to get colder as well. When Alaska gets cold, this allows the warmer air to begin to filtering on in. Look at this. We are very warm. This particular model, the European model, by next Tuesday, really warms us up. We could see the warmest highs of the year come this time next week. We'll definitely have to see that. Meanwhile, as we move this forward here, we continue to be fairly neutral, although some hints of some colder air trying to dip down into the lower 48 as we head into the end of next week, as this polar vortex up here starts to try to break apart a little bit. But notice still, cold air in Alaska keeping warmer air into the United States. So overall, the pattern is not looking too bad. Let's take a closer look here. Again, the continental United States showing nothing too big of a cold air outbreak headed our way. You may have seen a few posts on social media over the last few days indicating that there could be the possibility of an Arctic air outbreak, this weekend. That's not going to happen. We're going to see temperatures in the 50s this weekend, and going into next week, we definitely will be seeing some warmer conditions as well. In fact, no Arctic air outbreaks look likely over the next really 7 to 14 days here. So there's some good news for you right there. Now, it's not to say we won't get colder. For instance, by the end of next week, again, we could be on the cooler side of things once again. That's the general pattern, the way it looks like. But so long as that cold air is up in Greenland, that cold air is up in Alaska, and we see that warm air beginning to filter into the United States like we're seeing here, although this California warm air out here keeps us a little bit cooler than normal. We will see some warmer temperatures really intrude on the area for much of March. So definitely be something to look forward to for much of our region for those spring lovers, not necessarily for the winter lovers who, yes, sad day when those winter lovers start to notice that spring is on the horizon. So the next 6 to 10 days calling for slightly above normal temperatures. That's according to the Climate Prediction Center. The long-term forecast suggests near normal temperatures. That's the 8 to 14 day range, and that's also the weeks 3 to 4 range. So we're looking fairly near average, which would talk about temperatures in the lower to mid 50 ranges on average over that time frame. Meanwhile, precipitation, on the other hand, is a different story. We continue the La Nina pattern, which means, yes, we are warmer than normal, and we see a little bit more of that precipitation. It's going to be a wet spring. We've already seen plenty of rain this spring with the flooding we saw last weekend. And luckily, again, no major rains in the next 7 days. The next week is looking great and not impactful for any outdoor plans. So no need to worry about any sort of alerts headed our way in the short term, but it is going to be a wetter than normal pattern continuing. It's something we will have to continue to keep an eye on for sure. First Alert Plus, again, airs every Tuesday, 6:45 p.m. around this time here. We give you updates on all the weather, give you that first alert to what's coming if you need to know it. And of course, we give you in-depth information on what the weather is doing. Of course, it's on every digital platform as well. That's Facebook, that's Twitter, that's Instagram, that is the WSAZ TV app, the WSAZ app on your Roku, and WSAZ.com, things like that. Remember, if you're watching on YouTube, to like and subscribe and share this if you're watching it on Facebook. In the meantime, I'm Nicholas Snider. Make it a great Tuesday.